It's an invitation. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think that in society, we're not open to living with the seasons. We're told that we are just supposed to do X, Y, and Z. It's supposed to be like that every single day, except on weekends and, your 2 weeks of vacation and that's it. And so most people just live the same way. They don't necessarily notice the urges from the universe. And when they're strong enough, they're gonna notice, right?
This season on the Living Out Love podcast, we are focusing on you, who you are, what motivates you, what you're here to contribute, and how you can expand. We'll be utilizing my leadership skills and spiritual connection, diving deep into the Enneagram and astrology. Listen every week to become intimately aware of yourself. Only then can you heal and grow. Let's get to work, loves. Hello, loves. Welcome back to the Living Out Love podcast. I'm here with Suzanne Platner and I'm excited, but I'm not going to let her talk yet because something happened yesterday to somebody that I know during an astrology reading. And then something happened to me today that I thought, oh, this is fascinating. The thing that happened to me today is I am going through a transit that was kind of painful and I was feeling these like uncomfortable emotions, but it was right before we needed to record this podcast. And so I was like, I got to feel all my feelings and get them out of the way and get ready on time and all that. And then I realized we are coming on here to talk about Taurus, which is my sun sign. So I'm going to come on here and get to have all of the love, like right after feeling all the yucky feelings. And how beautiful and healing is that? And yesterday, Suzanne and I were doing a reading together and we're, talking about this client and realizing that the things the client is going through now is preparing them for some of the transits that are coming later in the year. And one of the reasons I love astrology and just brought it onto the podcast is because I think it shows us how the divine timing works for our lives, shows us our divine blueprint, what our soul's here to do, and it kind of gives us the way forward. So we're just going to be talking about Taurus today, loves, but just keep that in mind. If you're new to astrology, it's really, really powerful. So hi,
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about Taurus, your sun sign,
Yay.
and get into the good stuff.
Yeah. So let's just make me feel better. What do we love about Taurus?
What do we love about Taurus? Taurus, Taurus knows how to feel their body. Taurus is embodied. All of their senses are just lit up. Okay. So when I tell the story of Taurus, you know me, when I tell the story of a sign, I like to go into the sign before it to kind of understand why is Taurus the way that it is. And we started last time with Aries being the first sign of the zodiac, just all about like raw energy that's just been birthed. It doesn't know risk. It doesn't know anything. It's just out there with gusto. You guys, after a little while, that gets exhausting, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Aries energy is a little exhausting. Okay. And so along comes Taurus to provide us with some rest. But here's the thing about it. Imagine you've just been born. You're in Aries. You're out there. You're all excited. You're running around. Okay. Then you get kind of tired from doing that. You sit down. And what do you notice? You notice your body. All of a sudden you realize that you have a body. It's like a baby. Imagine them. At first they just come out. They don't even know what they're doing. And then if you watch them, they're looking at their hands. All of a sudden they're like, what is all of this?
Yeah.
Okay. And so Taurus is just, they're realizing they have a body. They're realizing that they're on this earth. They're wanting to relax, find stillness, be grounded, enjoy everything around them. Literally every single sense that we have, Taurus wants to feel them all because it's their first time really feeling something. So to your point, yeah, like let's just feel. Let's just Can you feel what's going on? Can you feel it in your body? What part of your body is lit up from your experience? And as you're calming, Taurus is so calming. So as you're coming into your Taurus self, what part of your body is really needing to feel relaxed? And I think that that's such the beautiful thing about Taurus, they're a fixed earth sign, which means fixed is always the second sign of the season. Fixed being like, okay, the cardinal sign started off the season. Fixed is like, we're here. You guys, we're in spring.
It is spring, yo. I put on the spring shirt. I was like, we're doing it.
Exactly. Yes, it is spring, and I love spring. Taurus is like, I love spring. Let's stay here forever, absolutely forever. This is beautiful. Do you see how beautiful this is? Do you see how I feel in my body right now? So that's that fixed part of them. The earth part of Taurus is they're grounded,
Mm.
they're practical, they're sensible, And so yeah.
I have a question, and I feel bad that I'm asking this because I'm just going to ask it, but I think
Yeah.
it's going to be wrong. I'm wondering, would it be too much to say that a Taurus might be like innocent? Is there like an innocence or a
Yes.
naivete to Taurus?
Yeah. I would say that about all three of the first signs.
Okay.
All maybe even the first, maybe even the first four.
Mm.
Um, because yeah, they're new.
Yeah.
They are,
Okay.
it's like Aries is innocent in a way that it's like it's just going. It doesn't even know. It doesn't even understand. Everything's about me, right? I'm
Yeah.
just going. And yeah, and Taurus is like, okay, now I'm in my body, and yeah, they're just yeah, they don't. We can just sit here and everything can be simple and lovely, right? We don't need to
Yes.
do anything more than that. It's so sweet and so innocent. Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Lovely. You know what I was thinking too about like the fact that it's a fixed sign and that the Taurus is the bull. I'm like, like that's why they call us the bull. We're like right in the middle. We're not going. You don't move a bull very easily.
You do not.
No.
You do not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
funny.
and the bull, just because there's a big misconception about there out there. People think of the bull as the Spanish, bull that's, strong and fierce and all of this kind of stuff. You guys, the Taurian bull is Ferdinand.
Yeah.
So it's not that Spanish bull that we think of. It's Ferdinand sitting under the lovely tree. It's really what more that energy is.
Just hanging out with the flowers.
Mm,
Yes.
so good.
Yes.
Yes,
I wonder, I'm so sorry. This is way off topic, but I was
totally.
thinking about like the fact that the signs follow each other. And I was
Hmm.
like, I wonder if there's a little tiny hint of Aries in Taurus, and that's why Taurus became a bull instead of a cow. If that Aries would
Yeah.
have given us like a little bit of fight, and that's why they think we're stubborn.
Oh, that's so interesting. I've never really thought about it that way. I've thought about the similarities of those archetypes,
Yeah.
but never really thought about it in that kind of context. And yeah, I think that's a great point.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, so I think you've already asked this, but I want to, in the social context, we've talked about it in the physical context that we want pleasure and flower and just keep it simple, but like socially and in our human mind, like what is it that Taurus needs or longs for?
Mm, yeah, yeah. Taurus wants to be able to stay in their body, right? They want to
Mm,
feel embodied. They want to move slow. They
yes.
so slow, so slow. Let's just keep things simple. Let's just be in nature. Let me
Mm,
smell. Like literally, they're just like, let me smell everything. Let me feel everything. Let me see everything. Let me
pleasure.
taste everything. Pleasure, pleasure.
Yeah.
Like every food, they're like, I need to taste all of this because my senses just they have to be lit up. I'm so new here. I need to understand what all of this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
How do you
yeah.
think that plays out in the context of relationships? Like
Yeah,
personal friendship, take it wherever you want to go.
yeah, I think that Taurus is sometimes relationships can get complex,
Hmm.
right? And so that can be kind of difficult for them because they're like why are we doing all of this? Why do we need to argue? Let's just keep things simple, but for them they want physical connection. They're a
Mm,
very physical sign, and so for them that sensuality, cuddling, all of that kind of thing. That's everything for them. And so what they're longing for is really to feel the relationship, to really be in the relationship, like physically, and just let's just go sit on a mountaintop together, and
Yeah.
hold hands and stroll along the beach, or it's yeah. So but I think that sometimes because of that simplicity, they can have a hard time because they just don't want to get into the hard conversations and the complexity, all the Scorpio terrain.
Yeah.
They don't like that stuff, and that stuff is necessary.
Yeah. All right. Fair. Fair. Yeah. And we mentioned like being in our body, feeling the things, pleasure. So I'm going to take it to sexuality. I'm assuming that
Hmm.
Taurus is a very comfortable sexual sign compared to maybe some others that are more mental, or I would
Absolutely.
assume fire signs are also, but that's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, fire signs would be sexual in a very, very different way. Yeah, for a Taurus, they're going to want to cuddle. They're going to want to, it's probably a longer sexual experience is what they're in it for. Again, like, okay, let's enjoy every single moment of this.
Mm.
And because they want to keep things simple, they're probably not going to be too adventurous, you know, in their endeavors, but they're gonna like really just savor every moment
I was
of
going
it.
to say the word savor.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and I like to think of Taurus as a little bit of a goddess, and a very sensual goddess, but not sexy per se, like possibly, but more kind of, to your word, innocent, more in kind of an innocent way. Somebody who's, lying on the armchair and being fed grapes, and you know
Yes.
and maybe they're wearing lovely fabrics, and maybe they're, you know a little more exposed and just enjoying, the feel of the breeze along the nipple, and things like that. Yeah.
All right then. That's fascinating. I love the feeding grapes. So for the audience, Suzanne and I were talking, I don't know, weeks ago, and I was taking a bath, and I had like the tray out over the tub where you can place your book or your water, and you can just enjoy this long, slow bath. And I was realizing there in all those, like, I don't know, ancient artwork, or how we came up with the idea of somebody feeding us in the tub. Like, in my mind, I was like, "That's so stupid, like, I don't get it, that's so whatever, royal gone mad," and then I was in the tub going, "I need somebody to feed me because my hands are in the tub, and I don't wanna get them out, and then they'll be wet, and I gotta put them back in, like, somebody just needs to come in and feed me," and I was laughing at myself going like, "This is so Taurian, like, I'm already having this pleasurable bath, and I need even more." Like,
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, to your point, your hands are wet, so your senses are lit up by the water. It can't be intermingled with touching a grape, but
no.
you want to taste. You want to have every single sense lit up. You probably want to have the aroma of lovely flowers as
Yeah.
well,
And then
right?
literally to back to the point of simplicity, because I was like, okay, I'll keep this hand dry, or I'll get this towel. And it became too much. I was like, I don't want to work that hard.
Right. No. That's so Torian. So
It's
Torian.
so Torian. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very deeply familiar with these, but in case anybody doesn't know or thinks that I'm perfect, what are the shadows of Taurus?
Taurus, they are stubborn.
Hmm.
Very, very stubborn. We talked about how they're a fixed sign. They don't want to go anywhere. No, they've figured out their stuff. You are not going to move me. Just extremely, extremely resistant to change. Um, yeah, they are.
I'm going to frame that from my experience.
Absolutely, go forward.
I don't feel stubborn. I feel comfortable,
Fair
which
enough.
I value. And so if
Hmm.
somebody wants me to do something differently, like, you better give me some cake or else I'm not going.
Right.
Like,
You need your senses again to do
yeah,
that.
yeah. So it's like, there's got to be a reason for me to move. I'm a big, heavy bull. I move slow. Like, I don't want to. I'm comfortable
Right.
here.
Right.
So it's not that I'm not stubborn, because I could see why the outside world would interpret me in that way. But to me,
Hmm.
it's just like, no, I'm here and it works. Like, why would I mess with it?
Right.
That happens a
Right.
lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, Taurus is also lazy.
But yes.
And again, if we're framing this from the shadow side,
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
we can we can go to more pleasant ways of saying lazy, but in the
No,
shadow.
that resonate. I'll take
Yeah.
that fully.
They're lazy. They are overindulgent. Feed
Gluttony for
me,
sure.
feed
Yeah.
me all of the cake. Give me all of the things. I want it all.
Yes.
hmm Um, and when Taurus gets to a really bad place, they
Mm.
become disembodied. And so
Oh.
that becomes part of their shadow too, simply because if they're in a bad place, they're not really being who they are meant to be. They're not going to feel in their body at all. And for a Taurus, that's quite bad. They need to find a way to get back into their body.
Mm.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I'm just trying to imagine if I wasn't in my body, would I even be aware that I wasn't in it? You know,
That's a fair question. Uh-huh.
I think I would just because most of the time I am.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of times when it's like we just disassociate. We don't know we've disassociated.
Right, and that's my territory.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah, and for sure, like I did not realize I was not in my body. I didn't realize how disembodied I was
And you're
for
saying
really
that as
much
a
of my life.
Gemini?
As a lot of things, I have a lot of
Okay.
12th house energy,
Okay.
which is so yeah, Gemini is dissociative and 12th house is disembodied and
Okay.
just kind of floating in the ether and
Before Aries was born, you were in the
uh-huh.
12th house.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it.
Uh-huh.
So lazy, gluttony, stubborn, that all sounds about right.
hmm
Um,
hmm
from a consciousness perspective, from a spiritual perspective, I could see that it would be hard for Taurus to want to grow because we value comfort so
Yeah,
much.
right.
I could see that that
Absolutely.
would be an issue. Um, my son is in Taurus, but not that much else is. So I'm fortunate that I'm kind of balanced in a lot of those areas.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm curious because we're heading into Taurus season. This is airing at Taurus season where we're all under a Taurus sun essentially. And
hmm
so when we're talking about whether it's that we enjoy pleasure or that we're lazy, do these aspects of Taurus affect all of us during Taurus season or just those of us that have a planet there? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, my philosophy is that we should all really try to dive into those feelings and because every single one of us has Taurus in our chart, even if you don't have any planets there, even if you don't have anything, it's still there in your chart. Transits are still going through it. Um, you know, but so to some extent, yes, if you're open to it.
Okay. So it's an
I
invitation.
It's an invitation. Yeah, and I think that in society we're not open to living with the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
We're told that we are just supposed to do X, Y, and Z. It's supposed to be like that every single day, except on weekends and, your 2 weeks of vacation and that's it. And so most people just live the same way. They don't necessarily notice the the urges from the universe. And when they're strong enough, they're gonna notice, right? But I think that most people are probably closed off to it. Now, there's going to be subtle things that happen. I think, you can't help but notice in springtime, all of a sudden there's more fruits that are abundant, like that we talk about the feeding of, the grapes and everything, although grapes are technically not a Taurus season food, but
Yeah.
at least not here. But food becomes more readily available because it's
Mm-hmm.
warming up. And so in ways like that, even practically, since we're talking about Taurus is so practical. Talking about practicality wise, that the weather's nicer, we're going to be more
Mm-hmm.
likely to take a long, lovely stroll, And so sometimes I like to look at those kind of questions as like twofold, one having completely to do with astrology, and the other one just having to do with, like I said, practicality and like what is the season actually here for that even if you don't believe in astrology, you can acknowledge that you're going to be more open to a long, lovely stroll during Taurus season than anywhere else. And so in those ways, I think that yes, it is absolutely becomes more abundant for all of us, you know, um, and that hopefully we're really happy in spring, and we do
Yeah.
just want to stay in spring, and we're really enjoying it here. I think by the time that we get to Gemini season, we're kind of like, when is summer start, please, because Gemini's a mutable sign,
Yeah.
and we Gemini wants that change, but in Taurus, we're still really happy about it. So, as far as do we feel more in our bodies? Do we feel the need to have our senses Do we want to touch more? Do we want to feel more luxurious? Are we more into being physical? All of those kinds of questions. I think it's, if you're open to it, yeah. If it's really hitting your chart in a certain way, maybe you're not, most people know their sun sign, but they don't know the whole other gambit of
Yeah.
everything else that's going on. Could be hitting your chart in all different kinds of ways. We're going to be talking about transits later, but there's some pretty strong Taurus energy that's going to be happening this season. And so we'll kind of get to that in a little bit. So I think it depends on what kind of transits are happening.
Yeah.
So, that's the long answer. The short answer is yes and no.
Okay. Well, it's
Yeah.
interesting. I was thinking back, I hadn't made this connection before, but I've done a lot of channeling about the seasons. And spring, we relate to that, to like the flowers are in bloom.
Mhm.
And so that's when we shine. That's when we show up as our best selves. We step into our expansion. Like, that's just talking spring specifically. So I was thinking about, like, I had literally written an email not that long ago about it's spring equinox. Like, where are you blooming? And and I was thinking, oh, how perfect that that's Taurus, because Taurus is like, I'm here.
I'm here.
This is my
Oh,
body.
yeah.
I'm here. And that
Yes.
appreciation of beauty is like that's spring in its fullest.
Absolutely. And yeah, you're touching on something that I haven't mentioned yet, which is beauty. Beauty is
Mm.
very, very important to Taurus. They are a Venus ruled sign, and Venus is all about beauty. And so, yeah, like art, all of those, yeah, noticing the beautiful flowers. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
What's funny, to your point earlier about like that we don't live by the seasons. I as a Taurus, I can sometimes be a creature of habit. And typically what happens around this time of year is I want to go outside more
Mhm.
because that's what the energy calls us to do. But I will have this like, that's not allowed, or I'll get in trouble. Like, there's this subconscious, like,
Mm,
I'm not supposed to, because we've just been so conditioned to, working 8 to 5. And you know what I mean? Like, I've
yeah.
had to actually work through that. So I think you're right. I think that for most of us, we don't even realize how deconditioned we are to our nature. Like, we
Yes.
think, well, I go on vacation in the summer, like I'm doing it. And
Right.
there's so much more to it than that,
There's so much more. And I mean, for me, me personally, that's part of like my mission is for me personally, to learn to live by the season and to really help others do that too. I think there's just so much value in us. Yeah, really. I love I love how you framed that, and that you feel like you don't have permission. I think probably a lot of people resonate with that. And yeah, can we break that? Can we say, no, we're allowed to take a nap on the couch. It is Taurus season.
Now
Can
that's
we take a
definitely not
nap on the
allowed.
couch?
Listen, going for a walk is allowed. You could call it exercise, but naps not allowed. I
I,
haven't broken that conditioning yet. I'm working on it.
hopefully one day.
One
Hopefully,
day.
I look forward to the day when you can just say to your spouse or whoever you're worried is judging you, it is Taurus season. I'm taking a nap on the couch, and they're like, of course,
Yes.
only natural.
Oh, what a beautiful vision.
Hmm.
Okay, anybody listening to the podcast, we are holding that vision that we're all
Yes, we are.
collectively not only having a primal understanding of the season, but that communal honoring of each other's experience. Like, of course you're taking a nap on the couch. Oh, that's so freaking beautiful.
Absolutely.
We're like
Yeah.
22 minutes in, and it's just been, I don't know. I feel very, it's because it's Taurus. I'm indulging.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yes. So with Aries, you said the most beautiful thing with Aries about if we don't have enough Aries, and you guys just go back and listen to it because I don't remember word for word, but you said something about like there would be nobody that stands up and fights for when something is wrong,
Hmm.
and you said it way better than that. So I'm curious, what happens if we don't have enough Taurus?
Yeah. If we don't have enough Taurus, I mean, we're just completely tapped out.
Mm.
We don't even, we're disembodied. We're just not even tapped into our senses. I mean, imagine going around life, just imagine not feeling pleasure,
I
you know?
can't. I can't even imagine that. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine
Yeah.
like feeling discomfort, but I can't imagine not feeling. I
Hmm.
don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, oh, yeah, no, it's, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, disembodied. Yeah. Yeah. We just do, I mean, you can't even, I feel like if you were just completely tapped out of your Taurus energy, you would just feel like you'd be a hot mess.
Yeah. Well,
You
I
know.
wonder if of the spring signs,
Mhm.
I'm just because Taurus is the fixed sign, I'm going to say Taurus is the most embodying of spring because it's the fixed sign. So I wonder if in spring it's like that's when we bloom and that's when we feel the most beautiful and the most us, like
Mm.
like the literal of embodiment is like being yourself, you know, because
Yeah.
you are a
Yeah.
body. And so it's like you miss
Absolutely.
out on your blooming if we don't have Taurus.
Absolutely. I think that's true. And I'm going to bring it back to those first few signs of the
Okay.
season because and the lessons that they teach us. And the first three signs really all teach us how to be. You
Mm,
know, Aries teaches us how to exist, that we are alive. Taurus teaches us, you know, just to be in our bodies, to feel, to all of these things. Gemini, which we're going to get to next month, teaches us about our communication, our mind. Now we're aware that we've got things going on upstairs,
yeah.
and so it's like all three of those things really like tell you who you are. Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, can we just skip summer? I'm really big into the spring and the fall. But I've got signs. That'll be good. So I love where we're going with Taurus.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how can Taurus be their best self?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
like what is the Taurus? I think we've kind of touched on what is the Taurus best self, but what is it that we need that if it's missing that we're gonna get disembodied?
Yeah. Taurus really needs to feel safe. They need to feel comfortable. If they don't feel safe, they're just they kind of don't, yeah, they don't even know
Yeah.
what to really do. um they need to be able to move slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like they need people not to push them, and again, in society we often get pushed
Yeah.
into things we don't want to do. Taurus says no, back off, kind of to your example earlier.
Mm-hmm.
you know um yeah, they need their time. They really need their time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need physical touch. They need to keep things simple.
Yeah. To me,
Yeah.
physical touch relates directly to safety.
Mm,
And like when I have relationships with people, friendships or whatever, where it's less physical, I inherently don't feel safe. Like I'm like if I'm
interesting.
in a friendship with somebody that's not a hugger, I'm like, so what does that mean? Like I don't know what to do with it. It's very uncomfortable for me, which is partially why I don't do well in like traditional professional roles. If all you get is a handshake, that's really hard for me.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
So
touch is
is
so
it,
important. It doesn't have to be like always cuddling,
hmm
but I don't
do you
yeah.
think it's because like you're literally needing to really feel that person, and like because you're so much about the senses. Once you feel that person, you can, are they safe? Like your senses are telling you, yes, this person's safe.
I never
Like,
would have named it, but that's what is exactly what it is.
okay.
And the thing about like the professional world, it's in the environments that I've been in the past in
Hmm.
corporations, there's the expected, like it's expected that you're going to shake hands or not shake hands with
Sure.
certain people in certain roles. So because of that, I don't know, would this person have genuinely shook my hand if it wasn't
Mm,
expected? And so it just makes me feel like I can't trust whatever connection we did or didn't have. I always question it. And it's just interesting because I wouldn't have put that together, but you're so spot on with that.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
And
feeling
trust,
them and
yeah, trust is such a big thing because trust is like, okay, and trust is, we talk about opposites whenever we talk about the sign. Trust is really kind of Scorpio terrain, but like in a real deep sense. Like Scorpio wants to get in there and trust really, really deeply, but Scorpio's going to get complex about it,
Yeah.
right? They're gonna try to figure out like all the angles and all of the things, like how can I trust? And Taurus is just gonna, they're gonna keep it simple, and they're gonna have more, Aries is very guttural, Taurus is also very guttural. Do I know like that? Can I
Yeah.
trust somebody? So I
Yeah.
love that, the touching in order to know to trust. It just makes so much sense, and I've never thought of it that way.
Mm.
Um, so so yeah, that, yeah, trust is, it's huge for them. Yeah.
This is fascinating to me. I didn't realize how big it was till we started talking. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's huge for me. And
Hmm.
this is a little bit off topic, but I keep coming back to this in my mind about the bull
Yeah.
and safety. And I was thinking, 99% of the time, bulls are just bulls. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like they're just chewing grass like every other cow out there. They don't get aggressive until they're prodded. Like even in the sense of like the Spanish matador, it's not like the bull just is like, well, this will be a fun game. You know what I
No.
mean? Like
Yes,
they get told
they
what to
get that.
do.
Yeah.
And of course we don't like that. So yeah, it's for so long I haven't resonated with the bull. I've resonated with the idea of a cow. Cows resonate, sure. But in thinking about it, I'm like, but I can.
Yeah.
I can be a bull,
Hmm.
and in
Hmm.
a good way too. Like bulls are powerful and like, but I can't, it is in there. But usually it's because something has gone awry. Like somebody has done
Yeah.
something, like I don't move towards that sort of um I'm going to call it like stubbornness with power. Like we think about a
Yeah.
bull like kicking somebody. It's like I don't move towards that on my own.
No.
Like at best I'm like just leave me alone. Like
Right.
like that's the worst I'm going to feel towards somebody is like I wish you would just leave me alone. Like that's it.
Yeah.
But then yeah, if somebody messes with me or maybe my kids or something, I can be a bull. So
Absolutely.
it's it's just interesting to think about like how much of our all of us, our archetypes are the shadows of it aren't even our shadows. Like
Hmm.
you poked me, dude. I'm not gonna roll over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
The shadow of like gluttony and stuff. Yeah, I got that. Like, I will claim that all day long. But I think where we think about bulls as being, we think about stubborn in a way that's like, grr, like
Hmm.
powerful stubborn. Um, which nine times out, like that, most of the time doesn't represent me. I'm not that
Yeah.
I'm really not that
Right.
stubborn. I move slow,
Yeah.
but I move. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to sit with this question as we go through the archetypes this season of when we look at the shadow side, how much of it is shadow that's baked in, that's natural to that archetype, and how much of it is kind of like scapegoating,
Yeah.
where
It's
like
a great point.
we're not a fully healed society. And
Yeah.
so, yes, when I get abused, this is how a bull reacts.
Right.
Like,
Now it.
I wonder about that. And I'm not familiar. I kind of want to go back and think about Aries and the Ram, but I'm not familiar with that. So we'll repeat that question or we won't moving forward.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, Obviously, I feel very attached to the image of Taurus.
Yes.
um, so one of the things one of the things that you and I have talked about in my chart, because I'm supposed to be moving towards Aries. And so we've talked about this. We mentioned it on the podcast, and we've said for me, like Aries is here to teach us that some things are worth fighting for.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so since I have to move towards Aries, I have to learn how to fight. So I'm curious, what is Taurus here to teach us? And for people that need to move towards Taurus, I don't know what that would be like because Taurus is my home body. So like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
does that mean for them?
Yeah. Just to be. It's
That's
that
so
simple.
simple.
It's so simple. Just be. Yeah, yeah. And for me, my own personal experience with that is that's actually something that my therapist had said to me at some point. Now I'm a Scorpio moon, so
Yeah. So
the
for those of
opposite
you,
of
yes, the opposite. For those of you that don't know, Scorpio and Taurus are opposites.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I'm going complex all the time. My emotions are, complex. And she said to me at one point, she said, do you think you can just be? And I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I had to really think on it. I didn't quite comprehend it. I didn't know how to do it. I wasn't all
Yeah.
this Gemini Scorpio energy. I'm like, I don't know what that is. And so I really had to think on it. And, I had kind of a trying time come up after that. And I shortly thereafter, I had actually prior to that experience, I had thought to myself, I want to get a bee tattoo. And I
Mm,
thought, why? I don't know where that's coming from. I really
yeah.
love bees. I think they're great, but I don't need a bee tattoo. I'm not sure why I had that thought. And then she said that to me and I was like, that's it. Because it is so hard for me to just be in the moment.
Mm,
And so anyway, I had this really trying experience happen shortly after that. And I just kept looking down at my wrist where I imagined this bee tattoo to be. And can I tell you the amount of peace that it brought me?
mm.
I just like,
You weren't
I
having to
mean,
go through
in
all the layers and the,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, just be in the moment. Just don't think about the future. Don't think about the past. Just be right here. Feel what's happening in your body. Take things as they come
mm,
right there in the moment. Just be here right now. And it was life changing for me. It really was. And I don't have the bee tattoo yet, but I still imagine it there, and I still hold that with me always. And I think the lesson of Taurus is really that simple. Can we allow ourselves just to be?
mm.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating to me that two of the most important women in my life have a thing about bees. It's just fascinating. So, for
Yeah.
those of you listening, my mom's um, grandmother name is B. It wasn't originally B, it was something else. And then we shortened it and became B. And then we realized
Oh,
she's a busy bee. And so it has now evolved to she's a bee. And then you had the bee tattoo. And it's like, it's just fascinating to me. I'm like,
yeah.
apparently I love the bees.
Apparently.
Well,
Well,
a
that makes
Taurus
sense as a
would.
Taurus. A Taurus would, absolutely. They could just sit and watch a bee for hours, I mean,
That is
Taurus wants to be out in
true.
nature and mhm.
Yes. Oh, that's so
And
beautiful.
what brings us nature more than a bee, if you really think about it,
Yeah.
out there pollinating everything and making everything beautiful for us, giving us beautiful food to eat.
And I think this ties back to in the idea of like moving towards Taurus, it ties back to what you were saying earlier, where we don't feel like we have permission to be in the seasons because Taurus does just want to lay out in the yard and enjoy spring.
Yeah.
Just be in the spring.
Hmm.
That's what Taurus wants to do. And like most of us, well, I won't speak for most of us, but me and most of my friends struggle to allow ourselves to do that.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
it's common, just way too common. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
all the feels.
I know.
Um, so we touched on this earlier, but I want to bring it back and just give you a chance to add anything if you have anything. So we talked about Taurus and relationship and like needing to feel safe, physical affection being very important, comfort.
Hmm.
Um, is there anything else you want to add about how a Taurus either gives their love or receives love?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, we did kind of talk about how a Taurus would kind of love others. I think some examples are just, long dinners,
That's true.
just, yeah, again, can we just be in the moment? Can we just be affectionate with each other? Those kinds of simple things. And I think for a Taurus to receive love, I think what's absolutely vital to them actually is to have somebody in their life who brings them calm.
I never would have said that, but you're right.
Hmm. They long for peace and calm more than anything else. So can hopefully the person in their life helps them with that,
Wow.
allows them to be that.
Yeah. You just blew my mind. Like, that is why it's worth learning your astrology, because I know a lot about astrology. I know a lot about Taurus, and I didn't know that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so true. And I was thinking of, I I really struggle with Taurus a lot, and I wonder if that's true for most people in their sun signs. I want to pin a pin in that and come back to it.
Sure.
But I struggle with Taurus energy, and sometimes when I feel the most loved is if I'm like sitting on the couch reading a book and some chore or task comes up that would normally be mine, like switching the laundry. I'm normally the laundry person. And so if the laundry bell rings and Jared can just sense that, like, I don't want to do it. I want to sit on the couch and read my book. But I'm not. I'm going to push myself to get up and go do it, you know?
Right.
But when Jared says, "Oh, I got it." And it's like I just breathe. I'm like, I can just sit and read. Like, that's
Right.
allowed. And it's those little moments where it's like all he's doing is switching the laundry, folks. It's 1 minute, but it's an important minute.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. He's bringing you that calm. Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's
he's not
beautiful.
making me get up. He's allowing me to
Hmm.
rest,
Yeah.
you know? Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
And I also like, I mean, my husband is a Cancer, so he likes cooking for others and nurturing others, and I like being fed. You know, like I do. I really enjoy when he cooks and he makes the whatever. It's like part of it is the pleasure of it and the embodiment of it, and that it feels good in my body. And part of it is also I didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I
and
am lazy. I don't want to have to do everything.
and there's a perfect example of, Taurus and Cancer are a sextile to each other, 60
Oh,
degrees apart. And so with sextiles, you have that just lovely, just harmonic kind of energy that it just is nice. It just is
yeah.
lovely together. Yeah.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to come back to this question. I don't think you and I have talked about it a whole lot before,
Hmm.
but like I'm very comfortable in my rising sign and my ascendant rising, for those of you. Like, and I think people associate me with my rising sign as well.
Hmm.
I'm far less comfortable with my sun. It
Yeah.
is that a phenomenon out, is that just me in my chart, or is that a thing that other people have?
Yeah, I can speak to that from a few different angles.
Okay.
I think that I'm an evolutionary astrologer, and as an evolutionary astrologer, kind of one of the things that we believe is that we're really here to learn our chart,
Mm,
and so
mhm.
it's actually pretty normal to not know how to do some of the things in your chart. As sometimes people think, oh, those are just the things you're naturally good at. And that's not untrue. I will say that that's true, but you didn't just come on this earth instantly being good at it. You did have to learn it, and everybody's journey of learning it is going to be different. And the things in their chart are going to sometimes help them with that and sometimes make things more challenging,
Mm.
and so if you've got a lot of squares to your sun, squares are that challenging energy, or oppositions even, you're going to have maybe you're going to have a challenge learning that sign, and you're probably not going to learn it until later. For instance, if you've got Saturn conjunct your sun.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, Saturn. Saturn is, Amy knows I always use the example of the high school principal when I talk about Saturn. I love that example because the high school principal wants what's best for you. They absolutely do, but they're going to give you a few detentions, to get you there,
Yeah.
and they're going to be hard on you, and Saturn will be hard on you. And the things that we have in Saturn in our chart, we are absolutely not born good at them. They're going to be hard for us to figure out. And so if you're born with a Sun Saturn conjunction, though, anytime you have a conjunction in your natal chart, it's almost like you can't even think of them as two planets. You kind of got to think of them as one merged planet.
Yeah.
And how do those operate together? So now you've got your sun sign, your ego, your entire everything revolves around the sun, right? This is who you are, is your sun sign. Saturn, typically Saturn is like the energy of the elder. A lot of times we don't figure out our Saturn stuff until we're older, more mature. And so, someone like that is, and there are plenty of people who come to me and they go, I just don't resonate with my sun sign. I read this explanation of
Yeah.
Taurus or Aquarius or whatever it is, and it just doesn't make sense to me. and and you look at their chart and you quickly understand why. And we could talk for an hour just about reasons why that might be. It takes
Right.
kind of a human eye to understand that. But yeah, but for other people, if you've got a lot of Taurus energy, and you've got maybe just not a lot of challenging things aspected to it, Saturn Taurus might be very easy for you to learn, and
Mm.
you just might be that, and you might be too much that, by the way.
Well, sure.
Especially we talked about Taurus as a stubborn sign, resistant to
Yeah.
change. So if you've got a lot of Taurus energy, you are probably very resistant to change, and and that's not good either.
Oh, I
You
need
know,
to add that to our questions. Like one of
yes.
our questions is what happens if we don't have enough Taurus? But what if we have too
What
much?
if you have too much? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a brilliant question because it's so true. It's you better find a way out of that for any sign, not just Taurus,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
any sign, because, it's like you're just going to keep doing the thing, and you're going to keep believing you're right about doing the thing without anything checking you. The other signs, that you have in your chart, they're coming in there checking you. And it might feel hard sometimes and you might not like it, especially when we're
Right.
given like a Saturn or a Pluto or something. But they're there to help you and guide you and nudge you and go, hey, babe, this ain't looking cute. Let's adjust this.
So I'm going to pretend like astrology is not astrology, and I'm going to pretend
Okay.
it's really simple
Okay.
and
As a
ask you a
Taurus would.
question. Well, there you go.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. So if all we had was our rising sign and our sun and our moon, and let's say they were all three in different signs,
Okay.
and take aspects out of it,
Okay.
which do you think people would resonate with the most, would make sense for them the most?
Yeah, I think that the sun. I mean, that's kind of
Okay.
the obvious choice, right? But I think it's true
Okay.
because I said a moment ago, everything revolves around the sun, and
Okay.
and that's true. Literally everything. It is who you are to the core of your being. If a lot of people say, if you want to feel fulfilled in your life, do your sun. Figure out your sun. If you're not doing it, you're not going to feel fulfilled. If you want
Mm,
to feel happy in life, do your moon. Your moon is your emotions.
mm.
It's so if you want to feel happy, you want your mood to be in a great place, do your moon. Your rising sign, you're right. The rising is so interesting. It's so very different from those.
From
And
those two. Is that what you do without thinking about it? Like that's just what you
your
do?
your rising is more about your actions. Yeah. Your
Okay.
rising it's the way that others perceive you. If someone sees you in the supermarket, the way that they instantly perceive you, that's your rising sign. And your rising sign dictates the entire layout of your chart, which is all about kind of your actions, how you move through this world from a outsider's perspective. Only the simple things like that an outsider would notice, not the complex decisions, the decisions that have to do with your emotions. That's involving your moon, that kind of thing. But the one foot in front of the other, the actual physical actions that you take, that has more to do with your rising sign.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Okay, so it is just me. I thought maybe there was a phenomenon where like suns are harder for people than rising, but
Yeah, I think it really
it's
depends on
chart
your chart.
specific. That makes
Yeah, yeah.
sense. I
Hmm.
just want to simplify things.
The Scorpio moon's coming in here and saying nope,
Nope.
nope.
So this is a hard question to answer because it's not one that you would typically read in an astrology book.
Hmm.
But I'm curious, in the vein of living out love, which some aspects of that are strengthening and deepening your connection to source energy, the divine, God, whatever you call it. What helps Taurus, or what should Taurus do? How does Taurus do that? How do they deepen their connection to divine energy source or build their
Yeah,
spirituality? Like, can you talk about that
yeah.
at all?
I think it's for them. It's. I'm gonna go back to those basic animalistic kind of
Okay.
needs.
Okay.
Because Taurus is just it is so
I mean, I
simple.
do feel when I'm in nature, I'm instantly like, "Hi,
Ex
God."
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What does an animal need? An animal
Gotcha.
wants to be out in nature. An animal wants, that just the physically moving around, taking up space, being simple,
Yeah.
lying down,
I
all of it.
will.
I think it's just so, if you have to take it back to an animal. And I think that
Safety,
I
easy
think,
food.
yeah, and I think for different people, different animals might actually resonate even more if you kind
Mhm.
of, I heard one time, if you kind of look at what somebody's favorite animal is, you can kind of see how they embody Taurus energy, like what they want to do, you know, which is, it's kind of interesting if you kind of break it down that way. So just, yeah, being in nature, being just going back to the just being. I mean, I imagine a Taurus like just in a lovely, open expanse of nature, and just feeling like they are a tree, you
Mhm.
know, just
Yeah.
feeling like they are one with literally everything around them. And I think for them, that is God, that is source, you know,
Mhm.
what more can there be than this beautiful, breathtaking existence around me?
That resonates. Like it's like I have the experience of it rather than like needing to research it or like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also like a lot of people are really drawn to like you do a pilgrimage. And I'm like, that's a cool idea. Cool. But like
Uh-huh.
I'm as a tourist, I'm like, I got my tree right here. Like I could just do it right here.
Right, exactly.
I'm like,
And
I don't need to go anywhere.
and, and of course, the example that you bring up is very Sagittarian, which guess
Yes.
whose Saturn is in Sagittarius?
Hello. Hi, it's me.
Yes, 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 yes. So yeah, that would be for Sagittarius. They would absolutely want to do a pilgrimage. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good reminder. Because I always want to bring these conversations back to, I feel like this podcast is for spiritually minded people, you know? And so how
Hmm.
do we use our astrology to deepen either our connection of spirit or our ability to live out what spirit calls us towards. Um, and I love that because I think we can take things for granted,
Hmm.
like because I enjoy being out in nature and because I use it as like, oh, it's my break from screen time. I'm going to go for a walk, get away from work or whatever. I kind of forget that that's how I reconnect,
Right.
And so I'm really glad that we talked about it because I can treat it more of a practice.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a tree hugger. There's a lot of people that like to literally hug trees. I don't feel called to
Hmm.
that because it's not they don't feel good. They're scratchy. Like
That's an
that's
excellent point for a
that's
Taurus.
why.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so I'm going to play with that. Like how can I put nature as part of my spiritual practice?
Yeah.
I've done a lot of I channel for myself in the morning or I pull cards or I meditate, but like really just being outside more is probably what I need the most.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
to your point about the tree being scratchy, what literally feels good to you?
Yeah.
What if you, I feel like you've talked about a sand, you don't like that texture either.
I don't like
And
when you're in the sand, I like it, but I don't like
uh-huh,
it once you're done. I want to be done. I don't want to have to figure
right.
out how to get the sand out of my car.
Got it, got
It's
it.
so
Okay.
complicated.
Right, right.
I don't like that gritty feeling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
I
what in nature really does feel good to you?
I love a breeze.
Hmm.
I don't think I've
Okay.
ever had a breeze on my face that I didn't thank the divine for.
There
I
it is.
like every time I feel a breeze on my face, it feels like love and expansion and lightness. And I think
Yeah.
as a Taurus and I have a lot of earth sign, I can sometimes feel heavy. So for me,
Okay.
it's so refreshing and it just feels like love to have. I'm going to tear up. Golly, it just feels like love to have a breeze on my face. And I like to just be quiet and
Hmm.
listen to the air and the leaves that they blow and listen to birds. Like I can be more physically uncomfortable. Like I can sit on a tree. I can do things that's physically uncomfortable if I'm feeling so enamored by something else.
Sure.
You know, I'm not going to tree a hug because if the whole point of hugging a tree is to hug a tree, like that doesn't feel good, so I'm not going to do it.
Right.
But if the point of going outside is to have an experience of pleasure, well, then I would be willing to sit on something, on an uncomfortable tree stump or a rock or whatever,
Right.
like
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
I think
also
that's a really
water's a big
important.
one for me.
Okay.
I love to
Yeah.
float. And I think it's such a metaphor of like, I don't have to carry my own weight. Like
Ooh.
something else has got me.
Oh, that safety again. That trust.
Yeah. And
There it is.
it's safety, and it's like a letting go,
Yeah. There's
which
safety.
I'm fortunate that I get to float. I know not everybody has that capacity, but that's one of my favorites too.
So
Oh,
interesting.
the safety.
And I think that, if you have a lot of strong Taurus energy in your chart, or if your sun sign is in, Taurus, don't look to what Amy just said as what
Right.
she feels is her connection. I think ask yourself the same questions that we just asked and that she came to the conclusion of, of what feels good to you. For her, it was the breeze, but maybe for you it is sand or the bark of a tree, or
Yeah.
what. Everybody's going to have a different experience. And so, yeah, I think, yeah, ask yourself all five of your senses. Ask yourself, what feels the best to me?
Yeah.
What looks the most beautiful?
A
What,
lot of people love being barefoot in the grass.
hmm
People love that.
absolutely.
I'm
I
not
do.
one of those people.
Uh-huh.
Not I.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Well,
yeah.
so we're about to talk about transits and like
Mhm.
what's going on, but just in case somebody is listening to this in the future when it's not 2024, can you go ahead and tell people how they can find you? Like, just very briefly tell us where we can find you, and then we'll do transits.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my website is She Dances Under the Moon. So you can go there. I have a whole section on there called Living by the Seasons, where you can just click on that. It'll show you each of the signs. You can click there. I've got a free guide all about the season that you can kind of, you can download and kind of learn how to work with Taurus energy yourself. You can find me on Instagram. Again, She Dances Under the Moon. And yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, and as always, those things are going to be in the show notes and on my website. But sometimes you're out driving around and show notes are difficult. So She
yeah,
Dances Under the Moon, you guys. Okay. It's about to be Taurus season. We're
yeah.
recording this right before Taurus season. What's happening? What can we expect
Taurus,
this year?
Taurus season. So we've got some good stuff. I'm gonna do this a little bit differently than I did with Aries season,
Okay.
and I'm just gonna go real quickly through the moons,
Okay.
kind of as one cohesive thing, and then I'm gonna move on to the other transits. Um, okay, so the first moon thing that we have going on in Taurus season is a full moon in Scorpio. And Scorpios, we talked about Scorpio a little bit opposite of Taurus. And you guys, just so you kind of know how the moon structure works, when you're dealing with a full moon, it's always the opposite sign of the sun sign, always
Mm.
opposite with full moons. So Taurus season, we're always going to have that full moon in Scorpio going on.
I always feel particularly good if it's a Taurus sun or a Scorpio moon, or if it's a
Uh-huh.
Taurus moon and a Scorpio sun.
Yeah,
So for those of you listening, if you know if you know your sun sign, like just play with that, pay attention to the moons and see if you feel good when it's in one or either yours or your opposite. That's confusing, but I'm just saying.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
such a great thing to pay attention to because it is going to affect us all very differently. So, Scorpio full moons, they can be pretty intense,
mhm.
because Scorpio is an intense sign, full moon's an intense thing. So, yeah, but it's going to be different for everybody. Okay. And so then after that, we're going to have the last quarter. Oh, and I didn't say what date. That's April 23rd,
Okay.
3:50 p.m. Pacific time for that full moon in Scorpio. Last quarter moon in Aquarius. And what you're going to notice, all of these moon phases that I'm going through, they are all fixed signs. Because, like I said,
Oh.
when it's a full moon, it's always the opposite. When it's the quarter moons, it's always the squared energies. When it's a new moon, it's exactly the same. Taurus is the first sign that kind of teaches us to really, really be in the moment. But all of the fixed signs are about, let's be here. I've got this idea. I've got this thing. And you kind of, it depends what element they are of how they kind of embody that fixed energy. For Taurus being Earth, it is about literally just being here, right?
Yeah.
But if we're talking about Scorpio, Scorpio is a water, so that's all about emotions. So can our
Mm.
emotions just like our emotions just be really, really present? And,
Yeah.
can we bring those to the surface and understand the complexity of the emotions? That's more what Scorpio is really about. Last quarter moon in Aquarius, that is what's going to come up next. That is on May 1st at 3:28 a.m. Pacific time. Aquarius is, that's the rebellious, revolutionary kind of sign. That's the air sign. That's all about thinking. So let's be real. That's kind of fixed in their energy about the way that we think. I'm going to be stubborn in my thinking right now. I have one idea. I'm going to move forward with it. I don't care who gets it or not. It's kind of the energy that goes on there for that last quarter moon in Aquarius. And we've got the new moon in Taurus, which is on May 7th at 7:23 p.m. Pacific time. New moon. This is when you can't see it in the sky at all.
Yeah.
And Taurus, sun is in Taurus, moon is in Taurus. Let's Taurus out, you guys. Let's just Taurus out. It's a
Yes.
great time to work on some
What day was
manifestations.
that day?
That is on May 7th at
Okay. All
7:23
right.
p.m.
Put that on the
Pacific.
calendar. I'll lay on the
Absolutely.
couch
Great time to
outside.
Taurus out. Yeah. And then the first quarter moon in Leo, that is the last fixed sign. Leo is all about, that's the fire energy. So can we just fully be in our fire? That's kind of more of the question there. May 15th, 3:49 a.m. Pacific. So that's that moon cycle that kind of takes you through the experience of, can we just be in whatever
Yeah.
that element is? Um, Okay, the biggest thing that we have going on during Taurus
I'm
season.
so sorry. I
Yes,
have to pause
go
you.
on. Yeah.
I think that if I were listening to this podcast, I would have no idea what you just talked about.
Hmm.
So, for those of you listening, Suzanne has a membership called the Moon Journal, and it goes through the cycles of the moon. And even me, who's pretty practiced, like I don't really truly understand how the cycles of the moon affect me, but Suzanne does. And so she sends a text message every month based on your chart and how the moon's affecting you. So the quarter moon, the full moon, exactly. And there's a journal prompt, and they're always right on time. So there's an invitation with the moon when she's saying like it's, can you just be, can you feel the intensity? It's like there's this invitation with the moon that we all live through in this cycle, and this time it's Taurus flavored. But yeah, so anyway, if that didn't make sense to you, hang in. We got lots more podcasts to go. Like we'll continue to do the moon cycles, and we'll continue to draw it back, and also check out the moon journal. I don't remember, can you talk about how much that costs or where they
Yeah,
can
yeah,
find that? It's on your
absolutely.
website, but
Yeah, it's on my website. Yeah, there's on the about page, you'll see a whole thing, and I have the Moon Journal, which is actually completely free. You can sign up for the Moon Journal completely free, and you can just journal along with the moon and the sun, and it saves your journal entries, shows you when you look back, like, oh, this was a Taurus moon or whatever it was. And for me personally, the reason I started it was because I wanted it, to be perfectly frank.
yeah.
And I wanted to learn to live not only with the seasons, but by the moon cycles, and to
Well, and that's
really,
so Scorpio.
it
You're
is,
like, this is
it's
so
so Scorpio.
complex. I gotta track it
Yes,
all.
I got to track it all. I got to understand it
Yeah.
all. I want to dive into psychology. And so, yeah, it's incredible though, to look back on one of the cycles in the moon is to say, let's say we've got a new moon in Taurus happening, I said, on May 7th. Okay. Now, when we come to the full moon, once we get to Scorpio season, we're going to come to the full moon in Taurus. That 6 month period, that's a larger moon cycle. And it's incredible to me when I go on the full moon. I always go and I look back at my journal entry from the new moon from that same season, 6 months earlier. And sometimes I am just blown away
Mm,
by what I started working on then and how far I've come. And I got to tell you, it's just a great opportunity to be proud of yourself,
yeah.
and just really realize, like, it doesn't feel like I've made progress on this thing. When I look back on it, I realize that I did. And it's not always the case. Sometimes it's a reminder of, okay, well, still some work to do there, but it's those reminders of that I find just so valuable, that I just think there's so much wisdom in working by the moon and abiding by, what's out there. In ancient times, I could go on a tangent, so I'll be real
Yeah.
quick here. But in ancient times, people really did live by the moon. They said,
Mm.
"Meet you at the next full moon."
Mm.
because that's all they didn't have clocks and, all of these
Yeah.
things, iPhones where they just looked at the time. They literally, they always knew where the moon was in the sky. And they paid a certain homage to the earth and gave respect to the earth because they had to live by these things. And that's what I find so beautiful. And that's really kind of my mission, is to
Yeah.
let's we don't have to get rid of our iPhones, but can we also figure out a way to respect the earth and live by her calls,
And dance
not
under
only
the
earth but the
moon.
source. Yeah, dance under the
Yeah.
moon. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
just want to say, for the people listening that are new to astrology, going through each of the phases of the moon is not something that most astrologers do, to my knowledge. Of all the astrologers I've listened to, when they talk transits, they just talk the other ones that you're about to get into. So the moon phases is something that you in particular care about because it's part of your calling of living by the seasons and, you know, doing your work. So, and just in case anybody's confused, if they've heard other astrology things and are like, what the heck is a new moon? Like, you can learn, follow Suzanne, you can learn, but I just wanted to point that out, because we all have our own brand, like I have my own brand of psychic channeling or whatever, like brand method, whatever. I digress. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I just feel like there's a lot of people listening that are very new to astrology, and just sun, moon, rising is enough. And then we're talking quarter moons, and even I can start to be like, now what?
Yes.
So it's helpful to, if you want to start working with the quarter moons, it's helpful to come back to this podcast and listen to it, or to sign up for her moon journal so that you get the prompts.
Yes.
But the transit she's about to talk about will be a little bit different.
Those will be a little bit, more intricate, and I don't think I said the moon journal is completely free. The texting service that Amy was talking about, the Moonflow membership, that is $4.95 a month. So that's where it becomes personalized, and I send you text messages where the moon is in your chart, but kind of what that means for you, give you a personalized journal prompt.
Yeah, that's what you should all do. Um, I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm finally going to let you get to the big transits of the season.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to start with the big gun, which is happening on the day that this podcast is airing, I believe. It is Jupiter conjunct Uranus. This is happening April 20th, 7:27 p.m. Pacific time. All right, you guys. So people have been talking about this transit for a while, and
Oh yeah.
I think especially coming on the heels of the total solar eclipse, which will have already happened at the time that this is airing. The reason why Jupiter conjunct Uranus is kind of a big deal, transits, let me tell you, transits happen all day,
Yeah.
every day. If you go on Instagram, you're going to see constantly people talking about whatever transit's happening today. And does it have meaning? Sure, sure.
Yeah.
But there's some transits that are much more important than others. And when we're talking about the slower moving planets coming together, that's how you know it's a bigger deal. Jupiter and Uranus are both slower moving planets. Jupiter takes 12 years to move around the sun. Uranus takes, I think it's 84 years to move around the
Mm,
sun. So those two planets they become conjunct. I think it's every 14 years approximately.
yeah.
Okay. So it's not like the rarest conjunction out there, but
Right. But
it's also pretty rare.
it's not every
Um,
decade.
yeah. And it's a pretty big deal. I said earlier, when we're looking at two planets and they become conjunct, we kind of have to treat them as one. And so what do those planets mean when you combine them together? So I'll give you a little bit of insight about Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. A lot of people think of it as the planet of luck, although it's not necessarily always. And Jupiter's the biggest planet, at least in our solar system. And so, it's about being big. It's this really big energy, this kind of Santa Claus energy. Um, Uranus, on the other hand, very different from Jupiter. Uranus is the planet of the revolutionary,
Mm,
the individual. If you want to know, like, who are you? Who's your inner weirdo? Like, look to Uranus in your natal chart, and you're going to start learning a little bit more about who your inner weirdo is, or maybe outer weirdo, depending on how much Aquarius or Uranus you have in your chart. You know, um, so Uranus is what the planet that kind of informs the individual. Every single person is unique. Uranus wants us to be our most uniquest self that we can be. And remember,
mm,
Jupiter is expansion. Now we combine those two things together. what do we have? We have like really a calling to really, really find that unique part of yourself. And I think anytime we're dealing with Jupiter, we have to ask the question, like, where are we underestimating ourselves?
Mm.
Where do we need to be bigger in our lives? So let's combine that with Uranus. How how are we underestimating who we really are?
Mm.
How can we really find ourselves? This is a question, and this is a collective transit. This is happening for
Yeah.
everybody.
Right.
Okay, so it's as a collective, we're all dealing with this. The things that happen in the news, I would definitely pay attention to the news and the things that happen, because that's gonna help us to inform us of, well, who are we really? And this transit, it's although it is exact on April 20th, it's been affecting us for a while before that. Different astrologers will give you different dates on that, but it's certainly been real hot and heavy, at least in the month prior to it, and the month after it as well. But a lot of people would say even much, much earlier than that. So if you want to know for yourself personally how this is impacting you, this is happening at 21 degrees of Taurus. So
Taurus.
Taurus, there it goes. Um, so look at your chart, find 21 degrees of Taurus. All right. Do you have anything there, even close to there? Anything within like a five degrees of that? Is there anything there? Okay, maybe. If so, what's there? Think kind of about that. Maybe it's conjunct your sun. If it's conjunct your sun, okay, that's really like a who am I? That's
Yeah.
really a call to get in there and who am I and ask yourself those questions. But it's also any sign that it's squaring. We talked about all of the fixed signs when we went through the moon cycle, any of those fixed signs. So we're talking about Scorpio, we're talking about Leo, we're talking about Aquarius. Those are going to be the ones to really look for. And obviously Taurus, those four signs, 21 degrees of any four of those signs. Again, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Leo. Do you have 21 degrees of any of those signs? Because if you do, this conjunction is probably going to hit you harder than most. And
Mm.
remember, not just 21 degrees, but on the out about 5 degrees on either
Gotcha.
side of
So
that
like
as well.
16
Yeah,
to 26-ish.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it's let's watch out and let's see what happens. Let's find out who we really are as a collective. These days, that question is a little troubling. But maybe I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of big energy out there, so I'm an optimist forever. Um, so I'm hopeful that some of this energy that's out there is going to really start steering us in the right direction and steering us more towards love.
That's
Is my hope.
Taurus.
Yeah, yeah,
I was just about to
absolutely.
ask you. So, like, I feel like I
Hmm.
understand Jupiter. I understand Uranus. I think I understand them coming together. But when you add that it's happening in the sign of Taurus, I'm like, so
Hmm.
what does that mean?
Right, right. Yeah, just bring it all back to Taurus. Like let's let's be in who we fully are.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah.
Let's feel who we fully are. Let's light up our senses about who we are and be okay with it, like unapologetically, like be okay with it.
Yeah.
You
I'm a
know,
cow. Get
there we
over it.
go. There we go. Yeah, yeah. So that's the big one.
That's
The
April
other
20th.
ones, yeah, the
Okay.
other ones are just kind of things that they're more minor things. Venus enters Taurus. We have so
Yay.
much Taurus in the energy of the sky. Like, let me tell you, there's just a lot of it going on at this time. So Venus is entering Taurus on April 29th and will be there through May 23rd.
That's my birthday, yo.
Yay!
Hey,
Yay, yay,
Venus.
yay. Mars enters Aries, which I find interesting.
Ooh,
Venus entering
in
Taurus.
Taurus. Explain
Yeah,
that to
so
people.
yeah, Venus rules Taurus. So for Venus to be entering Taurus, it's perfect. And then Mars entering Aries, well, Mars rules Aries.
Yeah.
So each sign being in their home planet
They feel
is kind
really
of
good there.
interesting. They feel good there. So yeah, Mars enters Aries on April 30th. That's going to be there through June 6th.
Mm.
And then we've got Mercury entering Taurus on May 15th through June 3rd.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up. This is one of probably my longest episode to date, but it's Taurus and I'm indulging. It's
There we go.
it's all fine. 14 years
Yeah,
from now we'll be talking about Jupiter Uranus. It'll be another hour and 15-minute episode.
there we
Um
go.
but I want to just say I have had so much fun. Last podcast we did the joint reading sale, like the Astro Flash sale with our joint readings, and I'm just loving that. And I think because we just went through a bunch more astrology that many of you will probably be feeling lost, I'm just going to continue the sale. So that way, if you want a reading, and you don't have to get the joint reading with both of us, you can just work with Suzanne. You can go to her website. I am not a trained astrologer. I will not give you an astrology reading, but I will channel for you while Suzanne does, or you can just work with Suzanne. So in case any of you'd like to follow up on any of that, or you can also reach out to Suzanne directly and she'll tell you whatever you need to know. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So from my tired, lazy, sweet Taurus heart to everyone out there, happy spring, loves, and we'll talk soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Living Out Love podcast. If this episode was helpful for you, there are 3 ways that you can share the love. You can send this episode to family, friend, neighbor, leave me a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform, or comment and ask questions on YouTube. This season is meant to be interactive. Thanks again for your presence. I appreciate you being here. Talk to you next week, loves.